What happens when a nervous teenager faces Steve Harvey and says something so shocking that even the king of comedy can't keep it together? The studio lights blazed hot under the family feud set in Atlanta, Georgia, where the air conditioning fought a losing battle against the heat of anticipation. It was a typical Thursday afternoon taping, but nobody in that audience knew they were about to witness television gold. 17-year-old Marcus Thompson stood at the podium, his palms sweating against the buzzer, wearing his best button-down shirt that his grandmother had ironed 3 times that morning. His family, the Thompsons from Memphis, Tennessee, were facing off against the Rodriguez family from Houston, and the score was tied at 187 points each. Steve Harvey, in his signature 3-piece burgundy suit with a pocket square that matched his confidence, strutted across the stage with that unmistakable swagger that had made him a household name. His mustache was perfectly groomed, and his eyes sparkled with the mischief of someone who had seen it all, or so he thought. The question on the board read, "Name a place where people go to relax that might surprise you." It seemed innocent enough, the kind of question that usually generated answers like library, park, or spa. The survey said there were 6 answers on the board, and both families had already knocked out the top 3: beach, home, and massage parlor. Marcus's older sister had just struck out with movie theater, which wasn't on the board, giving the Thompson family their second strike. The pressure was mounting, and you could feel the tension rippling through the studio audience like electricity before a storm. Marcus's mother, Patricia, a nurse who worked double shifts at Methodist Hospital, clutched her hands together in prayer position. His father, Robert, a mechanic with grease permanently stained under his fingernails despite scrubbing, shifted his weight from foot to foot. His grandmother, sweet 72-year-old Mama Jean, who never missed Sunday service at Greater Hope Baptist Church, whispered something that looked like encouragement mixed with a warning. Before we continue with what happened next, if you're enjoying this wild ride, do me a favor and smash that subscribe button right now. Hit that notification bell so you never miss these incredible moments, and here's the big one. Click that hype button because it genuinely helps the algorithm push this content to more people who need a good laugh in their day. Drop a comment telling me the most embarrassing thing you've ever said in public. Your support means everything to this channel's growth. Steve Harvey approached Marcus with that signature lean, microphone in hand, his expression a mixture of encouragement and playful intimidation that he had perfected over decades of hosting. "All right, young man," Steve said, his voice booming through the studio with that distinctive baritone that could make reading a phone book entertaining. "You got 1 strike left. Your family is counting on you. This is for the game. Name a place where people go to relax that might surprise you." The camera zoomed in on Marcus's face, capturing every bead of sweat forming on his forehead, every nervous gulp, every flutter of his eyelids as his brain scrambled for an answer. Marcus had been practicing for this moment for 3 weeks, since they got the call that their family audition tape had been selected. He had watched countless episodes, studied Steve's reactions, memorized common answers. But standing there under those lights with 300 audience members staring at him, with his family's hopes riding on his shoulders, with Steve Harvey's expectant gaze boring into him, his mind went completely blank. The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 5 seconds. Then, as if his mouth disconnected from his brain entirely, as if some mischievous force took control of his vocal cords, Marcus blurted out the answer that would change everything. "The morgue," Marcus said, his voice cracking slightly on the second word. The studio fell into a silence so profound you could hear the camera operators breathing. Steve Harvey's face went through a transformation that would become legendary in internet GIF form. His eyes widened to the size of dinner plates, his mouth dropped open, and for exactly 2.3 seconds, he stood completely frozen, processing what he had just heard. Then it hit him. The absurdity, the unexpectedness, the sheer audacity of a 17-year-old kid suggesting that people go to the morgue to relax crashed into Steve's consciousness like a freight train loaded with comedy dynamite. Steve's knees buckled first. He grabbed the podium for support, his perfectly manicured fingers gripping the edge as his body began to shake with laughter. "The morgue?" he managed to gasp out before dissolving completely. He turned away from Marcus, walking in a small circle, his hand pressed against his chest as if trying to contain the laughter that was erupting from somewhere deep in his soul. The audience, initially shocked into silence, began to catch the contagion of laughter. It started as scattered chuckles, then built into waves of hysterical laughter that rolled through the studio like thunder. Marcus stood at the podium, his face cycling through confusion, embarrassment, and then a dawning realization of what he had just said. His family behind him displayed a range of reactions that would also become meme-worthy. His mother had her hand over her mouth, her eyes wide with mortified disbelief. His father had turned away, his shoulders shaking, unable to decide whether to laugh or cry. Mama Jean had her hands raised to heaven, lips moving in what might have been prayer or might have been her asking the Lord why her grandson had to embarrass the family on national television. Steve Harvey was now bent over at the waist, one hand on his knee, the other still clutching the microphone, making sounds that were barely human. Tears were streaming down his face, threatening to ruin his makeup. The production crew, usually professional and stoic, were visible in the background, cameras shaking slightly as the operators laughed. Even the Rodriguez family, who should have been celebrating this catastrophic answer from their opponents, were doubled over with laughter. "The morgue," Steve repeated, straightening up slightly before another wave of laughter hit him and sent him staggering backward. Young man," he tried to compose himself, wiping his eyes with his pocket square. "What in the world? Who goes to the morgue to relax? Are you okay? Do we need to have a conversation? Is everything all right at home?" The audience roared with fresh laughter at Steve's questions. Marcus, now fully aware of his blunder, tried to explain, his words tumbling out in a rush. I meant like, when you're dead, you're relaxed, right? Like, permanently relaxed? No stress anymore." His attempt at justification only made things worse, sending Steve into another fit of laughter so intense that he had to walk completely off stage for a moment, disappearing behind the set while his laughter echoed through the studio. The director, a veteran of 15 years on the show who had seen countless bizarre answers, was laughing so hard in the control booth that he could barely call the shots. The segment that usually took 10 minutes to tape stretched to nearly 30 minutes because every time Steve tried to regain his composure and continue, he would look at Marcus, remember the answer, and lose it all over again. At one point, Steve sat down on the stage floor, his expensive suit be damned, just trying to breathe through the laughter. When Steve finally managed to collect himself enough to continue, mascara-stained tears still visible on his cheeks, he turned to the board with zero confidence. All right, he said, his voice still shaky with suppressed laughter. "Let's see if the morgue is up there." He pointed at the board with the kind of dramatic flourish that suggested he knew exactly what was coming. The buzzer sound, that harsh electronic rejection, blared through the studio, and the red X appeared on the screen. 3 strikes. The Thompson family had lost their chance to steal and the Rodriguez family won the round. But nobody cared about the score anymore. The moment had transcended the game. Marcus Thompson had just created what would become one of the most viral family feud moments in the show's history. As the Thompson family walked off stage after the taping, after the hugs and the consolation, and Steve Harvey's genuine appreciation for the entertainment value Marcus had provided, Marcus pulled out his phone during the break. His hands were still shaking slightly from the adrenaline. His best friend, Jamal, had texted him 3 times asking how the taping went. Marcus typed back, "Dude, I think I just ruined my life on national television." But he had no idea that the opposite was true. He had no idea that in 3 weeks when the episode aired, his 15 seconds of mortifying glory would be clipped, shared, remixed, and turned into countless memes. He had no idea that the morgue would become a running joke on social media, that Steve Harvey himself would reference it in future episodes, that he would be invited back for a special Most Memorable Moments episode. The episode aired on a Tuesday evening in late September, 3 weeks after the taping, and Marcus was sitting in his bedroom in Memphis doing calculus homework when his phone started buzzing. Not just a few notifications, but a continuous vibration that made the device dance across his desk like it was possessed. His Instagram followers, which had been a modest 423 that morning, were climbing by the second. 450, 500, 600. His Twitter mentions were exploding. His mom was calling from downstairs, her voice a mixture of shock and something he couldn't quite identify. Marcus ran down the stairs 2 at a time, nearly tripping over their golden retriever, Biscuit, who was barking at the commotion. In the living room, his entire family was gathered around the television, and there on the screen was Marcus himself, frozen in that moment of panic, about to deliver the answer that would change everything. His father had his phone out, recording the TV screen. Mama Jean was shaking her head but smiling. His sister was already on her laptop, refreshing YouTube where clips of the moment were being uploaded in real time. "Baby, you're going viral," his mother said, and Marcus couldn't tell if she was proud or concerned. Probably both. The family watched together as TV Marcus said, "The morgue," as Steve Harvey collapsed into laughter, as the entire studio lost their collective minds. Watching it back was somehow worse and better than living it. Worse because Marcus could see every awkward facial expression he made, every nervous gesture. Better because he could finally appreciate the absurd comedy of the situation from an outside perspective. By midnight, the clip had been viewed over 2 million times across various platforms. By morning, it was trending on Twitter with the hashtag #MorgueRelaxation. Memes flooded the internet. Someone had created a photoshopped image of a morgue with a 5-star Yelp review. "Best relaxation spot in town, permanently peaceful, highly recommend." Another showed a spa menu with morgue treatment listed as the premium package. A TikTok soundbite of Marcus saying "the morgue" with Steve's laughter in the background was being used in thousands of videos. Marcus's phone didn't stop ringing for days. Local news stations in Memphis wanted interviews. Radio shows wanted him to call in. His high school, Whitehaven High, where he was a junior with a 3.7 GPA and dreams of studying engineering at Georgia Tech, suddenly treated him like a celebrity. Walking through the hallways became an experience in itself. "Hey, morgue boy," someone would shout. "Yo, Marcus, where are you going to relax this weekend?" another would ask, already laughing at their own joke. His teachers referenced it. Even Principal Morrison mentioned it during morning announcements, saying something about how Whitehaven students were making their mark on the world in unexpected ways. But it wasn't all positive. Some comments online were cruel, calling him stupid, making jokes about his intelligence, questioning how he got into the show in the first place. Marcus tried not to read them, but late at night, when he couldn't sleep, he would scroll through the comment section, each negative remark feeling like a small cut. His mother noticed him withdrawing, spending more time in his room, being quieter at dinner. She sat him down one evening at their kitchen table, the same table where they had celebrated getting selected for Family Feud, where they had practiced answers together. "Baby, listen to me," Patricia said, her nurse's hands strong from years of caring for others holding his. "People are going to talk. They're going to laugh. Some will be laughing with you, some at you. But you gave people joy. In a world that's so heavy right now with everything going on, you made millions of people laugh. That's a gift." Her words helped, but Marcus still felt the weight of being reduced to a single moment, a single mistake, a punchline. 2 weeks after the episode aired, Marcus received a direct message on Instagram that changed his perspective entirely. It was from a woman named Jennifer Caldwell from Portland, Oregon. She wrote, "I know you're probably getting a million messages, but I had to reach out. My husband passed away 6 months ago from cancer. It's been the darkest time of my life. I haven't laughed, really laughed, since he died. Tonight, my daughter showed me your Family Feud clip. I laughed until I cried. For the first time in months, I felt a little bit lighter. Thank you for that moment of joy. You have no idea what it meant to me." Marcus read the message 3 times, tears forming in his eyes. He showed it to his mother, who hugged him tight. He started looking at the comments differently after that, focusing on the ones that talked about how much they needed the laugh, how they had watched it with their families, how it had brightened their day. There were hundreds of them, thousands. A father who watched it with his kids during a difficult divorce. A college student stressed about exams who watched it on repeat. A veteran dealing with PTSD who said it was the first thing that made him genuinely smile in weeks. Steve Harvey himself reached out through the show's producers. He wanted Marcus to know that in his 20-plus years of hosting Family Feud, that moment was in his top 5 all-time favorite memories. "You gave me one of the best laughs of my career, young man," Steve said during a phone call that Marcus would treasure forever. "Don't let anyone make you feel bad about that. Comedy is about the unexpected. and you delivered unexpected in the best possible way. Steve even invited Marcus to be part of a special compilation episode featuring the most memorable Family Feud moments. 3 months after the initial airing, Marcus was invited to appear on Ellen DeGeneres' show. His family flew out to Los Angeles, their first time on the West Coast. Sitting across from Ellen with her kind eyes and genuine interest, Marcus told the story from his perspective. He talked about the pressure, the blank mind, the bizarre logic that led to his answer. Ellen laughed. The audience laughed, but it felt different. It felt like they were laughing with him, celebrating the beautiful absurdity of the human experience. Ellen surprised him with a $10,000 scholarship toward his college education, sponsored by Shutterfly. For making the world laugh, she said. Marcus cried on national television for the second time, but these were different tears. His mother in the audience was crying too, thinking about those double shifts, about the bills, about how this bizarre moment had somehow turned into a blessing. Back in Memphis, life slowly returned to normal, or a new version of normal. Marcus still got recognized occasionally, especially when he wore the same shirt from the show, which his friends dared him to do. He leaned into the humor, even putting professional morgue relaxation consultant in his Instagram bio. He gave a speech at his high school's career day about unexpected opportunities and not being defined by your mistakes, which received a standing ovation. His relationship with his family deepened through the experience. They had shared something unique, a moment of national attention that could have torn them apart but instead brought them closer. Mama Jean started telling the story at church, embellishing it slightly each time, until in her version, Marcus had actually planned the whole thing as a comedy bit. His father, usually a man of few words, would beam with pride when someone brought it up at the auto shop where he worked. Senior year arrived, and Marcus applied to colleges with a unique essay topic that admissions officers wouldn't soon forget. He wrote about viral fame, about being reduced to a moment, about finding meaning in mistakes, about the responsibility of bringing joy to others. Georgia Tech accepted him with a partial scholarship. When he got the acceptance letter, he posted a photo on social media with the caption, "From the morgue to the yellow jackets. Life comes at you fast." The Family Feud episode became a staple of best of compilations. It was shown at comedy clubs, referenced in stand-up routines, played at parties. Years later, it would still circulate during slow news cycles, a reminder of simpler viral moments before everything became so politically charged and divisive. Marcus Thompson had given the internet something pure, a genuine unscripted moment of human awkwardness transformed into universal joy. On graduation day, as Marcus walked across the stage at Whitehaven High to receive his diploma, someone in the audience shouted, "Don't relax at the morgue yet." The entire auditorium erupted in laughter, including Marcus. He had learned to embrace it, to own it, to recognize that sometimes our most embarrassing moments become our most defining ones, not because they show our failures, but because they show our humanity. As he stood there in his cap and gown, diploma in hand, Marcus thought about that Thursday afternoon in Atlanta, about the lights and the pressure, and the moment his brain short-circuited. He thought about Steve Harvey's laughter, about his family's mortified faces, about the millions of people who had watched and shared and commented. He thought about Jennifer Caldwell in Portland, and all the others who had reached out to say thank you for the laugh. And he realized that sometimes the most unexpected answers lead to the most unexpected blessings. Hey, my friends, help me by subscribing to the channel so we can reach 1,000 subscribers, even if you're watching from your TV or computer. Your subscription makes all the difference, and the algorithm will help you see more amazing stories. Leave a like or an emoji in the comments and be part of this growth.